Hello and welcome to IAMC Radio and Podcast. Today we're going to be exploring the top news headlines for February 22nd, 2025. And first up, we have a little bit of a clash of the titans, you could say. It seems pop icon Madonna and President Trump are at odds again, and this time it's over a royal title. President Trump recently celebrated his victory in blocking a congestion pricing plan for Manhattan on social media. And his celebratory post ended with a rather interesting declaration: "Long live the king."
Yeah, what's interesting here is not just the use of regal language, which we have seen from President Trump before, but the context. So by declaring himself king after stopping this policy, he's framing himself as like the savior of Manhattan, the one who protected the city from this unpopular measure. And this type of language taps into a certain kind of power dynamic, positioning him as the ultimate authority.
And Madonna was not having it. She took to X, formerly known as Twitter, with a fiery response, calling out what she sees as a troubling embrace of monarchical imagery. In a country founded on rejecting monarchy, she reminded everyone that the U.S. is meant to be governed by the people, not a self-proclaimed monarch.
And this little celebrity spat actually reveals a deeper tension that's been brewing. You know, for some, Trump's language evokes concerns about authoritarianism and the erosion of democratic norms, while for others it's seen as bold leadership, or even just playful bravado. But this clash highlights how language can be such a powerful tool. It can shape perceptions and influence political narratives.
Next, we head north to Canada. They're taking a strong stance against organized crime, mirroring similar action taken by the U.S. just a day earlier. Canada has officially designated 7 major criminal organizations as terrorist entities.
Yeah, this is a significant move because it allows Canadian authorities to use a wider range of tools to combat these groups. So we're talking about groups like Mara Salvatrucha, the Sinaloa Cartel, Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generacion, among others. These cartels have been responsible for horrific amounts of violence and instability, driving drug trafficking, human trafficking, and gun smuggling.
It's a reminder of the very real human cost of these criminal enterprises. The violence they inflict on communities is devastating, and Canada's decision to label them as terrorist entities really underscores the severity of the threat.
Yeah, and this designation has teeth. It allows the Canadian government to freeze the assets of these organizations, making it much harder for them to operate. They're also partnering with banks to crack down on money laundering, which is a crucial step in disrupting the financial lifelines of these networks.
Now let's talk about a controversial move in France. They're considering a law that would ban undocumented immigrants from getting married, which has sparked a lot of debate.
So the French government is arguing that this is a necessary measure to prevent what they call sham marriages aimed at obtaining residency or citizenship. However, critics are concerned that it's discriminatory and infringes on the fundamental right to marry.
And this proposed law seems to contradict a 2003 ruling by France's Constitutional Council, stating that a person's immigration status can't be a barrier to marriage. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, this situation really forces us to consider the balance between national security concerns and individual rights. It's a complex issue with no easy answers, and it'll be important to watch how France navigates this legal and ethical minefield.
After some good news coming out of Libya, 48 Nigerian women and 2 children have been safely repatriated, with the assistance of the International Organization for Migration and Nigerian Consular Services.
This repatriation is a positive development amidst the ongoing efforts to assist Nigerians facing extreme difficulties in conflict zones. It's crucial to remember that many of these individuals have endured incredibly challenging and often traumatic experiences. Providing support and assistance upon their return home is essential.
It really makes you wonder what these women will face as they reintegrate back into Nigerian society. You know, their journey to safety and stability doesn't end when they step off the plane. It's a reminder that we need to consider the long-term support and resources required for those who have been through such harrowing experiences. Back in the U.S., the political scene in Florida might be heating up. President Trump has endorsed Congressman Byron Donalds as a potential candidate for governor in 2026, even though Donalds hasn't officially announced a run.
Yeah, this early endorsement from President Trump could give Donalds a significant boost, potentially making him a frontrunner in the race. It's also worth noting that Florida's First Lady Casey DeSantis is considered a potential candidate, so you could have a very interesting gubernatorial election on your hands in a couple of years.
Now, this next story is a bit unsettling. Authorities in Lagos, Nigeria recently made a shocking discovery. A stash of vaccines, including those for diseases like yellow fever and measles, was found hidden under a staircase in a market.
The Nigerian agency responsible for food and drug regulation, NAFDAC, is currently investigating the incident. And their initial findings suggest these vaccines were being smuggled to other West African countries, raising serious concerns about the dangers of unregulated vaccine distribution.
This situation is definitely alarming. You see, these vaccines need to be stored and handled properly. to be safe and effective. NAFTAC's work in uncovering this operation is crucial in protecting public health. Switching gears to the U.S. again, President Trump's plan to reduce the federal workforce has hit the Pentagon, with 5,400 jobs potentially on the chopping block.
This move is part of a larger effort to downsize the government, and it has been met with mixed reactions. There's been pushback from voters and even some legal challenges. The impact of these job losses on the Pentagon's operations and its ability to fulfill its mission remains to be seen.
It's a complex situation with potential ramifications for national security, and we'll have to wait and see how it all unfolds. In other Pentagon news, there's been a major shakeup in leadership. President Trump has abruptly fired General Charles Brown, the top U.S. military officer.
This decision was unexpected, and no official explanation was given for General Brown's dismissal, which comes amidst a wave of firings and resignations at the Pentagon. This level of turnover at the top can create uncertainty and potentially impact the stability of the military's leadership structure.
Adding to the intrigue, President Trump has nominated Lieutenant General Dan Kane to replace General Brown.
Kane's appointment has also generated some controversy, particularly around an unusual anecdote President Trump shared about their first meeting. It seems President Trump has a penchant for choosing nominees who grab headlines and spark debate.
It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. Kane's confirmation hearings will likely be closely watched, and his every move will be scrutinized. Given the importance of the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff role, the stakes are high for both Kane and the U.S. military.
Absolutely. This position requires a unique blend of leadership, strategic thinking, and diplomatic skill. It's a challenging role, especially given a current global landscape and the ongoing changes within the Pentagon.
Well, that's a lot to process. I don't know about you, but I need a moment to digest all of that.
Yeah, it certainly has been a whirlwind of news today, hasn't it? From celebrity feuds to international affairs, there's a lot to unpack.
Speaking of unpacking, I'm still trying to wrap my head around this whole vaccine situation in Nigeria. It's frightening to think that people might be receiving vaccines that haven't been properly handled or stored.
You're right to be concerned. The potential consequences of unregulated vaccine distribution are significant. It undermines vaccination efforts, puts people at risk, and erodes trust in public health systems. It's a reminder that access to safe and effective healthcare is something we need to constantly safeguard.
And on that note of safeguarding, let's circle back to the U.S., where President Trump's downsizing plan is generating a lot of buzz, especially regarding its impact on the Pentagon.
Yeah, the proposed cuts at the Pentagon, while not as expensive as some initially feared, have still sparked debate and concern. Critics argue that reducing the workforce could affect the military's readiness and capabilities, especially in a time of increasing global uncertainty.
It's a tough situation because the government has to balance fiscal responsibility with national security. It's not just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about ensuring the safety and well-being of the nation.
Precisely, and it raises questions about priorities, resource allocation, and the potential long-term consequences of such decisions for the U.S.'s role on the world stage.
And speaking of consequences, the sudden dismissal of General Charles Brown, the top U.S. military officer, has sent shockwaves through the Pentagon.
Yeah, this unexpected move has fueled speculation and raised questions about the stability of military leadership, especially given the lack of a clear explanation for General Brown's firing. It's worth noting that this comes amidst a series of other high-profile departures from the Pentagon.
It certainly creates an atmosphere of uncertainty, and now with President Trump's nomination of Lieutenant General Dan Kane to replace General Brown, we have another layer of intrigue to consider.
Kane's nomination has sparked its share of controversy, partly due to his close ties to President Trump, and partly due to some questioning his experience for such a critical role. His confirmation hearings will undoubtedly be closely scrutinized.
It's a high-stakes situation not only for Kane, but for the U.S. military as a whole. The Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff is a pivotal position, requiring a unique blend of leadership, strategic thinking, and diplomacy. Let's hope that if confirmed, Kane is up to the task.
Indeed, the decisions made at this level have far-reaching implications affecting everything from military strategy to international relations. It's a role that demands a deep understanding of the complex global landscape and the ability to navigate delicate situations with wisdom and resolve.
All of this news, both domestically and internationally, really underscores the interconnectedness of the world. What happens in one part of the globe can have ripple effects that reach far and wide.
You're absolutely right. We live in an increasingly interconnected world where events, whether political, economic, or social, can have a cascading impact. The challenge is to stay informed, to engage in thoughtful dialogue, and to consider the broader implications of these events.
Well said. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day headlines, but it's crucial to take a step back and look at the bigger picture. to understand the underlying trends and forces that are shaping our world.
Exactly. We need to cultivate a sense of global citizenship, recognizing that we're all part of a larger community facing shared challenges and opportunities. The more we understand these connections, the better equipped we'll be to navigate the complexities of the 21st century.
Well, on that thought-provoking note, I think we've covered a lot of ground today, from celebrity spats to political power plays to international crises. We've explored a wide range of topics that are shaping the world around us.
It's been a fascinating discussion, and I hope our listeners have found it informative and engaging.
Yeah, it really has been a lot to take in. It highlights just how important it is to stay informed and engaged with what's happening both locally and globally.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It's so easy to feel overwhelmed by the constant influx of news, but it's more crucial now than ever to really critically assess the information we consume and to engage in meaningful discussions about the issues that matter.
And that's what we're trying to do here, right? To break down complex issues, provide context, and spark those critical conversations.
Exactly. We believe that knowledge is power, and that by understanding the nuances of these stories, we can become more informed and active citizens.
And hopefully inspire our listeners to dig deeper themselves, ask tough questions, and form their own conclusions.
Absolutely. It's not about dictating opinions, but rather about encouraging thoughtful analysis and engagement with the world around us.
So to our listeners, we encourage you to continue exploring these topics, to seek out diverse perspectives, and to use your voice to shape the future.
We live in a time of unprecedented change and complexity, but it's also a time of immense opportunity. So let's embrace the challenge, stay informed, and work together to create a more just and equitable world.
Beautifully said. And on that note, thank you for joining us on this journey through the top news headlines for February 22nd.
It's been a pleasure sharing these insights with you.
Thank you for listening to the Today's Top News Headlines on IAMC Radio and Podcast.